Hi, Maria. Thank you so much for being here today. We're super excited to get to talk to you. I would love
Thank you
if you
for
could
having me.
introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Maria Sarnatora, and I am a mom of two boys. I am a coach. I have a coaching business called La Bella Vita Life and Wellness Coaching. And I am the author of a book called No Thanks, I'm Good.
Amazing. Could you tell us what your book's about?
Sure. It's about anxiety, more so high functioning anxiety. So like your everyday anxiety that, you kind of have on a daily basis, but don't think it's nothing like where, you can't leave your house or anything like that, but it's the little things that kind of weigh us down. So I talk about my own experience with anxiety, and then I give some tips on kind of how to manage your own anxieties or your own fears and whatnot, really to help people feel more in control when it comes to what they're dealing with and be able to live kind of live with their anxieties, but be able so that it's not impacting them and it's not stopping them from doing the things that they want to do.
I love that. What inspired you to write your book?
Um, so I've always wanted to write a book. It's been kind of like a lifelong dream of mine since I was a kid. Um, and I, I guess when Haley came to me and, kind of offered this opportunity to go through this coaching program, it was like, oh wow, it kind of just like fell on my lap, and I was like, this is exactly what I've always wanted to do. And to write about the anxiety, it just kind of came to me one day where I was actually in the shower. It's kind of where all my thoughts start like coming in. And I was like, you know what? This is something that I've been dealing with anxiety my whole life. And when I realized through my own experiences and through my own experience being in therapy or being, coached myself, that I actually had more control over it than I thought. When that light bulb went off in my head, I thought to myself, like, I wonder if other people realize that too, or like, you never know who is dealing with things like, when it comes to like anxiety or depression, things like that, because people just don't talk about it. So you don't really know who's dealing with what. And so when I realized just how much control I had over it, I said, I wonder how many other people are not talking about it and it's impacting them and stopping them from doing the things they want to do. And so I was like, you know what? I have to write about this. And it just kind of came about.
That's amazing. When you were writing your book, who are you thinking of when it comes to who your book is for?
It's a good question. Honestly, I wanted it to really kind of be for anybody. One of the things that I specifically had in mind when I was writing the book was I wanted it to be really kind of like down to earth. I wanted it to be something that was kind of written in, there's so many books out there, especially self-help books, and they have all this data and research, and that's wonderful. But I know sometimes when you're reading them, you're like, all right, I just want to get to the point. Like, how is this going to help me? Like, what do I need to know from here? And how can what I was thinking was, how can I explain this in a way that anybody can understand it? And anybody can just be like, oh, wow, that makes sense to me. So that's kind of it was kind of like, I wanted it to just kind of be something that everybody could relate to. So whether it be, people, other moms or anybody who's ever had, whether it be like high functioning anxiety, perfectionism, things like that, low confidence, things that will, when people kind of get stuck in their own head, that's what I really wanted to target and help people with, no matter who it was.
That's amazing. How long have you been writing?
Only since, I mean, well, if you think about it, actually, if you want to, writing a book, I mean, that was my first book. So I would say about a year. I'm working on my second one now. But that was about a little over a year ago. But I've been just writing, whether it be journaling or when I was little, when I think I was in sixth grade, I wrote a play. So I've just been writing since forever, but books since last year.
I love that. What made you really sit down and start?
Um, I think having the guidance of Haley and her team, and having, kind of having a deadline, and no, actually, not even just having a deadline, but what Haley does is really great book mapping session. And it's one of those things where you have so many ideas or you have so many thoughts, and then, you sit down with her and you just kind of talk it all out, and she puts it all down on paper for you in a way where it's like, oh, okay. So this isn't as complicated as I thought. And it makes it so much easier to just start and do little bits at a time. So I think that was a big help for me, because it kind of took away the overwhelming piece of it. And I was able to just kind of sit down and be like, okay, this is what I'm going to focus on now, and actually get it out on paper.
I love that. What's your schedule like when you're writing a book?
So it's funny, because I'd love to say that I have a schedule, but I have a 2.5-year-old. He's almost 3, and I have a 3-month-old right now. And when I was writing the first time, my oldest was almost 2, and so this scheduling piece, it was not easy for me at all, because he would wake up, he still does, wakes up at the crack of dawn, so it's not like I can get up earlier than him unless I want to be up at like 4 a.m., which my brain's not functioning well at that time anyway. So really what I was doing was just kind of fitting it into pockets of my time, mostly at night after he went to sleep. I would just kind of sit down and focus, every night, do a little bit, or 3 nights a week, get a little bit in. But I didn't really have a schedule, just because of how crazy and hectic my life was, and still is at this time. So it was kind of just like, okay, we're going to do this. And that's kind of one of the things I talk about in my book too, is like the getting rid of that like perfectionist piece, because like, the perfectionist in me really wanted to have this wonderful schedule where I would sit down and I have like a whole, set up, and I'm every day, and I, just kind of having a kind of a certain vibe. And me, I was kind of like, all right, do I have 10 minutes here? Like, am I going to, I could sit down and write this before my eyes start like, closing on me. So it was kind of just like, all right, I'm letting go of that perfectionism, and, kind of, because if I was to hold on to it, I'd probably never get it done. So, yeah.
I love that. What do you need in your writing space to help you stay focused?
That's a good question. Well, I mean, I think having, like I said before, having that outline that Haley created, that book map, was really, really good. I think also just like I said, the letting go of the perfectionism, because that kept me like, okay, you can still do this. Like, it doesn't have to be a perfect scenario for you to sit down and write and focus on one thing. Also, I think just like remembering, why I wanted to do this in the first place. And like, like I said, who I want to help in the process. I think all of those things kind of kept me focused. I as far as like physically in the writing space, I didn't really have anything other than just, my computer.
What is your favorite writing snack or drink?
That's a good question. I mean, I think coffee, because I live off of coffee. Snack, I don't know. I don't know. Popcorn comes to my mind, so maybe I probably sat down because it was, at night, and probably had some like popcorn or something.
Love that. What books do you enjoy reading?
So I like a lot of self-help books myself, but I do like a lot of, I do like fiction as well. I like romance. I'm a big fan of Jane Austen novels. So Pride and Prejudice is like my all-time favorite. Yeah, it kind of depends. Sometimes I'd rather, I'll pick up a self-help book or something, and other times I just wanna, get into like a good romance novel.
That's awesome. Are there any books or authors that inspired you to become a writer?
Hmm, I don't, I wouldn't, I don't think so. I think, you know, when I was younger, when I was a kid, I've just always liked to read and write. It's been something that has always been a part of me. So it's, when I was little, I would write little stories and, give them out to my mom or my friends or whoever. But I don't know if anybody in particular did. I just always enjoyed reading. It was never like something that I didn't want to do. So.
What books did you grow up reading? Did you have a favorite?
Hmm. Um, so I'm trying to think. That's a really good question. What books did I grow up reading? I remember reading like Judy Blume books as a kid. I remember reading, um, oh gosh, there was a bunch. I used to read, actually, as a kid, I used to read like the Babysitter's Club. I don't know if you remember those. I'm like aging myself. But things like that I would read. Yeah, that's what as a kid, I read a lot of that. And then like as I got older and in college, that's when I started reading like Jane Austen and all of those.
On the opposite side of that, now as an adult, what are your favorite series or authors?
Um, I like, as far as like self-help, which is kind of what I've read more of lately. However, I do want to start reading a little bit more fiction. I do like Jen Sincero. It's the You're a Badass. She has a couple of different books out. I loved that. I could say like that was, it sticks out in my head as one of my favorites because I remember reading it. I was on a business trip for work, and I hate flying, like absolutely hate flying. And I remember I was able to sit down and like read the entire thing without even worrying about, like I was so into it on the plane that I barely looked up, and like by the time I was, the flight was over, and I was like, oh, okay, that wasn't so bad. And so I was really, into it. So that's why that one sticks out in my head.
Definitely a good one. What would you tell someone just starting out with reading again?
I think I think I would just say to enjoy it. Like, don't, if it's not something that, sometimes people sit down and they're like, oh, I have to get through this, and it becomes like a chore, and then they let it go. I would just say, like, don't take it so seriously. Read, like, if you not interested in that one, put it down and find something else. Find something that interests you. Find something that you enjoy, because it really it makes all the difference when you find a good book that you're really into, and then you just kind of get sucked in. So I think, so many people I hear are like, oh, these books are long, or I can't, I really force myself to get into it. But if you're not into that, if there's one that you don't like, put it down and find something that you do. And then it becomes, you know, way more fun and enjoyable.
I love that. On the opposite side of that, what would you tell someone who's just starting to write their own book?
I think I would tell somebody that I think don't underestimate yourself. That's what I would say. I wasn't sure if what I had to say was enough, and really made me nervous when it was time to put the book out there into the world. And I was like, well, I don't know, like, what if people don't like it, or what if it's not enough for people, or you just think of all the kinds of things that other people can say, or reviews or whatnot. And I wasn't what I realized after I put the book out there, and I was so nervous at the time, was that the feedback I got was so positive, and so many people came up to me or reached out to me to tell me like how much they enjoyed it or how it helped them, even in the smallest ways. And that was my one thing, was like, even if I can help one person, right, and share this information, and either one person enjoys it or one person gets something out of it, then I feel like I've done my part. And when I received such a positive response and people said, wow, this is really helpful, or really, connected with this book, I was like, oh, wow. Okay. So don't underestimate yourself, and don't think that what you have to say is not important, or what you have to write is not enough to write, because it is. And if you put your heart and soul into it, it's going to be amazing no matter what.
That's such amazing advice. What's one thing people are generally surprised to find out about you?
I mean, I think people really were surprised to find out that I wrote a book. People I knew were like, what, you were writing a book? Because I did keep it a secret for a while, because I was very nervous and I didn't want people to have expectations. So I think they were surprised that I wrote a book. I think they were surprised that I had the anxiety that I had talked about in the book. I think that was something that was surprising to people. And also just being as open as I was, sharing my experiences. I think that was, people didn't realize, what I was dealing with, or what I continued to struggle with.
That's so powerful. I know you mentioned Haley, and at the time that this is airing, Haley's episode for her author interview has come out, and she's come back, and also a special guest episode about her publishing company. Since you've worked with her, I would love if you could tell us a little bit about your experience with working with Haley and how that empowered you, helped you, whatever it came up for you.
Yeah. So I've been, I was working with Haley for a while, even prior to this experience of writing a book. I was working with her. She was coaching me for my, with my business and just in general. She's she's an amazing coach, and she has a wonderful way of just taking everything in your head and making sense of it for you, and kind of, giving it back to you and saying, okay, look, and it just all of a sudden things make way more sense, or just you feel way more empowered to do what you want to do. So in general, her coaching is amazing. And then the experience with writing the book and kind of getting into, with TSH Publishing, that experience was awesome, because like I loved the fact that I was able to kind of walk through the whole process. And they kind of just like held your hand the whole way. But like, I sat down with Haley, told her my idea. We talked it out. She mapped everything out for me. And then I kind of went from, then there was ongoing coaching throughout the whole process, through the writing process. And then, you just go into the editing, and it was just a really smooth process from start to finish. And I felt like supported the whole way, empowered, and they gave me everything I needed really to kind of get to where I needed to be until the end. So honestly, I've already been recommending TSH Publishing and Haley to other people who are like, oh, I want to write a book, I couldn't say, I have like only the best things to say about Haley and her team. They were awesome. So if someone's looking to write a book and, you want to reach out to Haley, do so, because she's awesome, and she really helps you feel like, if you have any doubts, or if you have any, it's a scary thing. And even, prior to like actually publishing the book, you have some fears or you have some doubts, and she really just like walks you through it all. It makes you feel like you got nothing to worry about, and she's right. So, yeah.
If you had to pick one part of the process that was your favorite, what would you say it was?
I don't know. It was all kind of fun, to be honest with you. I mean, I love writing, so I enjoyed writing it. I loved her mapping everything out, because it really took everything that was in my head and made it so much more clear. And it motivated me. I also liked being able to, like, and not so much the editing, because I mean, You have to go back and look at all your mistakes and figure out exactly how you want to rewrite things. But I even like the design, being able to design the cover and having, all the way to the end. And so I don't know if there was a specific, I mean, just writing in general and being able to kind of see everything come out into like a finished product, that was really cool for me.
I love that. That's so amazing. Thank you for sharing. Is there anything you would like to say or add?
I think if you're on the fence and you want to write a book, like, do it. Just, don't, like I said before, don't let anything get in your way. And it's not as, it sounds a lot more complicated than it actually is. And maybe that is thanks to Haley and her team, but yeah, you won't regret it, put it that way. So
I love that. Where's the best place for readers to find you? I know some readers love signed copies. Is that an option and the best place to connect with you?
Yeah. I mean, you could find the book on Amazon. No thanks, I'm good. If you just, search it in there. I think I sent you the link as well. You can go to my coaching website. I think the link is in there as well, but it's www.labellavitacoaching.com. I'm also on Instagram, La Bella Vita Coaching, Life and Wellness Coaching, and yeah, Facebook as well. So you can find me on any of those. You want a signed copy, you feel free to reach out to me and let me know, and I can absolutely do that for you and send you one. But yeah, I'm on all of those.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being here today. We'll be sure to link all those ways to connect with you and find your book in the show notes. And again, thank you so much.
Thank you.